Two SUVs, the Ford's 63 grand, the Lincoln's six figures. You'd think the Lincoln's a different machine. It's not. Same chassis, same V6, same transmission, rolling off the same factory line. You're not buying two SUVs. You're buying one, twice, for an extra $37,000. So what is that money actually buying you? Welcome to America on wheels. Let's find out. The bones don't lie. Start with the thing that matters more than anything else on a full-size SUV, the platform, the skeleton underneath everything else you see. The Expedition and the Navigator are both built on what's called a body-on-frame chassis. If you're new to this, here's the quick version. Most cars today use unibody construction, where the body and the frame are one welded piece. It's lighter, it's quieter, it's cheaper to build. But body-on-frame is different. It's the old-school way, the truck way. You've got a separate steel ladder frame, and the body gets bolted on top of it. It's tougher. It's better for towing. It's what you want if you're hauling a boat, a camper, or a horse trailer across 3 state lines. And here's the thing. The Expedition and the Navigator share that exact frame. Ford calls it the T3 platform. It's the same architecture underneath the F-150, by the way, which should tell you something about how serious this bone structure actually is. Both SUVs are assembled at the same plant, Ford's Kentucky truck plant in Louisville. Not a sister plant across the country, not a different continent, the same building. Ford Expeditions and Lincoln Navigators are built on the same production line, sometimes literally back-to-back, with workers switching out badges and trim pieces as the vehicles roll past. Think about what that means for a second. The dimensional tolerances, the crash structure, the way the frame flexes and absorbs impact, the wheelbase, the suspension mounting points, all of it identical. When crash test engineers look at the Expedition, they're looking at the Navigator's skeleton too. When off-road guys talk about frame rigidity and how a body-on-frame SUV holds up over 150,000 miles of real use, they're describing both vehicles at once, because it's one design wearing two costumes. This isn't Ford being lazy. Let's be fair here. Sharing a platform across a mainstream brand and a luxury brand is standard practice across the entire industry. Cadillac and GMC share bones. Genesis and Hyundai share bones. Lexus and Toyota share bones. It's not cheating, it's how you keep engineering costs down while still offering a premium option. The question isn't whether platform sharing is normal. It is. The question is whether you understand what you're actually paying for when the price tag jumps by tens of thousands of dollars. And that's exactly what we're digging into today. The engine secret under the hood. Now let's pop the hood, because this is where a lot of people assume the real difference has to be. Surely the luxury SUV has a bigger, more exotic engine, right? Something the regular Ford buyer doesn't get access to? Not exactly. Both the Expedition and the Navigator run Ford's 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6. Same displacement, same twin-turbocharged architecture, same basic engineering, designed by the same team, built on the same engine line, in the same facility, by the same workforce. If you're not familiar with EcoBoost, here's the plain English version. It's Ford's turbocharged direct injection engine family, and the whole idea is to get big engine power out of a smaller, more efficient block by strapping on turbochargers instead of adding cylinders. It's the same fundamental technology whether it's under the hood of a Ford Explorer or towing a fifth-wheel trailer behind an F-150. Ford didn't reinvent anything for Lincoln. They reached into the same parts bin the rest of the lineup pulls from. Now, Lincoln does tune the Navigator's version for more power. That part's true, and it's worth being straight with you about it. The Navigator typically produces more horsepower and torque than the standard Expedition, thanks to different turbo calibration, different engine mapping, and some software tuning that lets it breathe a little harder under load. It's a real difference. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's smoke and mirrors, because it isn't. Lincoln's engineers do put real hours into dialing in that extra output, and on paper, it shows up. But here's what actually matters, and this is the part the window sticker doesn't spell out for you. It's the same block, the same 6 cylinders, arranged the same way, forged and machined on the same assembly equipment, with the same bore, the same stroke, the same fundamental architecture from the crankshaft up. Lincoln didn't go out and engineer a brand new V8 or source some exotic power plant from overseas to justify that price gap. They took Ford's existing EcoBoost V6, the same engine doing hard, unglamorous work in half-ton trucks across the country, and they turned the dial up. That's a tune, not a transplant. And if you've spent any time in the tuning world, in the aftermarket scene, in the world of guys chipping their trucks in a driveway on a Saturday afternoon, you already know exactly how much power you can unlock from an engine that was never running at its absolute ceiling to begin with. Ford intentionally leaves headroom in these engines for durability, longevity, and future flexibility across the lineup. And Lincoln gets to cash a slice of that headroom in as a premium feature, charging you a luxury price for something that's really just a different tune on the same hardware. So when you see a Navigator badge and a bigger horsepower number on the window, understand exactly what you're looking at. You're not looking at a fundamentally different engine, built differently, sourced differently, or engineered from a clean sheet of paper. You're looking at the same engine, the same block that's out there right now, in an Expedition on the lot next door, allowed to work a little harder, with Lincoln's name attached to the result. 10 gears, 1 transmission, 2 names. Moving down the drivetrain, we hit the transmission, and this might be the clearest, cleanest example on this entire list of badge engineering in action. If the engine gave Lincoln a little wiggle room to claim something's different, the transmission gives them almost none. Both the Expedition and the Navigator use Ford's 10-speed automatic transmission, not a similar 10-speed, not a Lincoln-branded variant with different internals, different gear ratios, or a different torque converter tuned exclusively for the luxury badge. The same transmission, developed jointly with General Motors years back in a rare cross-company partnership, and now a workhorse across Ford's entire truck and SUV lineup. It's in the F-150, it's in the Expedition, it's in the Navigator. It's in the Super Duty trucks hauling gooseneck trailers across the country every single day. 10 forward gears built to balance fuel efficiency with serious towing capability, and it's proven itself over millions and millions of real-world miles across Ford's whole truck family, not just in a lab somewhere. If you're newer to this stuff, here's why a transmission actually matters more than most buyers realize, and why this particular point deserves more than a passing mention. It's not just about shifting gears smoothly from a stoplight. The transmission determines how the engine's power actually gets translated into forward motion, how efficiently you cruise at 75 miles an hour on the interstate, how confidently the vehicle downshifts when you're towing a boat up a steep grade in the mountains, and honestly, how long the entire drivetrain lasts before you're staring down a repair bill that can run into the thousands. It's one of the single most expensive components to replace on the entire vehicle, right up there with the engine itself. So when two SUVs share the exact same transmission, gear for gear, calibration for calibration, they're sharing one of the most critical, most expensive, most consequential pieces of engineering in the whole machine. This isn't a cosmetic overlap. This is the component that decides whether your SUV feels smooth or clunky, efficient or thirsty, reliable or problematic, 10 years down the road. There's no Navigator transmission hiding in a Lincoln-only parts catalog somewhere. There's no special luxury gearbox that Lincoln engineers built from scratch, calibrated in isolation for a more refined shifting feel unique to that badge. It's the same physical unit, bolted to the same engine family, sending power through the same architecture, controlled by remarkably similar software logic. The refinement you feel behind the wheel of a Navigator, and we're about to get into exactly where that refinement actually comes from, is not coming from a transmission that Ford's engineers built exclusively from the ground up for the luxury brand. It's coming from somewhere else entirely. Suspension. Similar bones, different polish. Suspension is where things get a little more nuanced, so let's slow down and be careful and precise here, because this is genuinely the part where Lincoln does earn some real credit, and I don't want to shortchange that. The Expedition and Navigator share a similar suspension design from the ground up. Independent front suspension, a multi-link rear setup, both available with adjustable air suspension depending on which trim level you're looking at. The fundamental architecture, the geometry, the control arm layout, the way the wheels are located and controlled through their travel. That shared DNA, just like the frame underneath it and the drivetrain running through it. If you put both suspension systems up on a lift side by side, an untrained eye would struggle to tell them apart, because structurally, they aren't meant to be told apart. They come from the same engineering blueprint. But Lincoln does something a lot of buyers don't realize matters as much as it actually does, and this is where I want to give real, specific credit. They recalibrate the suspension tuning from top to bottom. Different spring rates in some configurations, different damper tuning tailored specifically to a smoother ride characteristic, different software calibration for the adaptive suspension system that adjusts firmness in real time based on road conditions and driving inputs. All of it aims squarely at delivering a smoother, quieter, more isolated ride, one that soaks up highway expansion joints and rough pavement in a way the standard Expedition simply doesn't match, even riding on the exact same underlying hardware. This is genuinely one of the more legitimate, more defensible differences between these two vehicles, and it's worth giving credit where it's due instead of pretending every single difference is just marketing. Here's the analogy I'd use, and I think it holds up well. Think of it like two chefs working from the exact same recipe, the exact same core ingredients, the exact same kitchen, the exact same base technique. One of them adjusts the seasoning at the very end, dials in the finishing touches with real care, and plates the final dish more carefully, more deliberately, with more attention paid to presentation and mouthfeel. The dish underneath, the protein, the starch, the fundamental cooking method, is still the exact same dish. But the final execution, that last 5 or 10% of polish, can genuinely change how the whole thing feels going down, how satisfying it is, how premium it comes across. That's Lincoln's suspension tuning in a nutshell. Real work, real engineering hours logged, real money spent on calibration and testing. But it's fine-tuning an existing shared architecture, not building something entirely new from the ground up exclusively for the Navigator. And that's actually the perfect place to pause for a second. If this is the kind of stuff you want more of, the real story behind what these badges are actually selling you, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me which brand pairing you want us to expose next, because we've got a list and your comments genuinely shape what we cover. And if you haven't already, subscribe and tap that notification bell, because we've got videos like this dropping every single week and you do not want to miss them. All right, let's keep going, because we haven't even gotten to the part that actually justifies some of that price gap. What you're actually paying for. So if the frame's the same, the engine's the same block, the transmission's identical, and the suspension architecture is shared right down to the control arms, what exactly is Lincoln selling you for that extra $37,000 and up? What's actually filling that gap? The honest answer, the experience. And I want to walk you through what that actually means in real, tangible detail, because it's not nothing, and it's not fake. Start with materials. Step into a Navigator, and the difference hits you immediately before you've even started the engine. We're talking real leather, stretched across more surfaces than the Expedition ever sees. Higher grade trim pieces throughout the cabin, genuine wood accents, brushed metal finishes on the switchgear, and a level of stitching and panel fit that Ford simply doesn't put into the Expedition's cabin at any trim level. Lincoln's design team spends real money sourcing better raw materials and real-time assembling them to a noticeably tighter standard, with tighter panel gaps and more consistent finishing throughout. That's not fake. That's not just marketing spin dressed up in a brochure. Sit in both vehicles back to back, run your hand across the dashboard and the door panels, and your hands will tell you the difference before your brain even finishes processing it. Then there's sound insulation, and this is one of those things you don't fully appreciate until someone points it out to you, and then you can't unhear it, or rather, unnot hear it, for the rest of your life. Lincoln adds extra layers of acoustic dampening material throughout the Navigator's entire body structure. Thicker glass in key locations around the cabin, more sound-deadening foam packed into the door panels, the floor pan, the firewall, and the wheel wells. The goal is a cabin that stays library quiet, even at highway speeds, where road noise, wind noise, and engine noise all get filtered out almost entirely before they ever reach your ears. It's a genuinely different sensory experience behind the wheel, a completely different atmosphere inside the cabin, even though the engine generating that noise on the outside is mechanically identical to the one sitting in the Expedition parked right next to it on the lot. Technology is another real, measurable differentiator, and it's a big one. Lincoln loads the Navigator with a more advanced infotainment system from the factory, a bigger and sharper digital display, an available 30-inch panoramic screen that stretches dramatically across the dashboard in higher trims, more advanced driver assistance features layered on top of Ford's baseline systems, and a suite of active noise cancellation technology that uses strategically placed microphones and speakers to cancel out unwanted engine drone and road noise in real time, actively rather than just passively. None of that is available, or at least not to the same degree or the same level of sophistication on the standard Expedition, no matter how far up the trim ladder you climb. And then there's the suspension calibration we already spent real time on, plus one more piece worth mentioning here specifically. Lincoln puts genuine, sustained engineering effort into what they internally call quiet flight, their overall design philosophy for how a Navigator is supposed to feel, sound, and behave in motion from the moment you close the door. It's not just a marketing tagline dreamed up by an ad agency. It's an actual internal engineering target that shapes decisions across the entire vehicle, from the suspension tuning to the sound insulation packages to the way the doors are engineered to seal shut with a heavier, more substantial thunk. So here's the honest, complete breakdown, all of it laid out together. You are not paying double for a completely different vehicle, built differently from the wheels up. You're paying a significant premium for a meaningfully upgraded experience, layered carefully on top of an identical mechanical foundation. The frame doesn't care what badge is bolted to it. The engine block doesn't know or care whether it's wearing a blue oval or a Lincoln star on the cover. The transmission shifts through the exact same 10 gears the exact same way in either truck, in either badge, on either lot. What changes, what you're really opening your wallet for, is everything you touch, everything you hear, and everything you look at while you're sitting inside it, day after day, mile after mile. So let's go back to that image from the start of this video. Two SUVs. One costs $63,000. The other costs $100,000 or more once you start climbing the trim ladder. Now you know exactly what that gap is buying. It's not a different chassis because it's the same T3 platform built in the same Kentucky plant. It's not a different engine because it's the same 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6, just tuned to make a little more power. It's not a different transmission because it's the same 10-speed automatic doing the same job in both vehicles. And it's not even a completely different suspension, just the same architecture, recalibrated and polished. What you're actually buying is materials, insulation, technology, and refinement. A quieter cabin, a more premium feel under your hands, a badge that means something different when you pull up somewhere. For some buyers, that's absolutely worth $37,000. If you're going to spend hours a week in that driver's seat, if a hushed cabin and softer leather genuinely improve your daily life, that premium isn't wasted money. It's a real product, purchased for real reasons. But for other buyers, and honestly, I'd guess this is most of you watching right now, that same underlying truck, the same frame, the same engine, the same transmission, wearing a Ford badge instead, might be the smarter move. You get body-on-frame toughness, you get that EcoBoost V6 doing real work, You get the same 10-speed handling the shifts, and you keep tens of thousands of dollars in your pocket. Add a few aftermarket touches, some better seat covers, some sound deadening if it really bothers you, and you can close a good chunk of that comfort gap yourself for a fraction of the price difference. That's the real lesson here, and it applies way beyond just these two SUVs. Before you pay a luxury premium on any vehicle, ask the question we ask today. What's actually different underneath the sheet metal? Sometimes the answer is a lot. Sometimes the answer is barely anything at all, dressed up in nicer leather. And that's the truth about the Expedition and the Navigator. Two SUVs, one machine, and a price gap that's really a story about materials, insulation, and badge value rather than a fundamentally different vehicle underneath. I hope this one changed the way you look at that Lincoln dealership sign, or honestly, any luxury badge sitting next to its more affordable sibling on a different lot. Because once you start asking what's actually shared here, you can't stop seeing it. It's everywhere in this industry. If you learned something today, that like button genuinely helps this channel more than you'd think. It tells YouTube this video's worth showing to more people, and it takes about half a second on your end. If you've got a brand pairing you want us to dig into next, Cadillac and GMC, Lexus and Toyota, Genesis and Hyundai, drop it in the comments below. I read every single one, and a lot of our best videos started as comments right there on the last one. If you're new here, welcome to America on Wheels. We put out videos just like this one every single week, breaking down the stuff dealerships hope you never ask about, from what's really under the hood to which vehicles hold their value and which ones are quietly falling apart. Hit subscribe, tap that notification bell, and you won't miss a single one. And if you want to see this exact same story play out in a completely different corner of the automotive world, check out the video on your screen right now. You are going to want to see this one. Thanks for riding along with us today. We'll see you in the next video.